I stood in the dim glow of my father's mahogany study, the air thick with the sharp tang of aged whiskey and polished leather, my finger hovering over the send button on his laptop, the screen's blue light casting shadows that danced like ghosts across his framed Empire Awards, about to unleash the truth that would shatter his world forever, because after years of him calling me a failure, I had built it all without him knowing. Life felt perfect back then, wrapped in the warmth of our family estate where the scent of my mother's jasmine garden clung to every breeze, drifting through open French doors. I remember mornings starting with the sizzle of bacon on the cast iron skillet, grease popping like tiny fireworks, Dad's deep laugh booming as he flipped pancakes, syrup dripping sticky and golden onto porcelain plates. He was the king of our world, his construction firm towers scraping city skylines, his rough hands, calloused from years gripping steel beams, gentle when he ruffled my hair, handing me blueprints rolled tight like ancient scrolls, their paper crisp under my fingers, explaining load-bearing walls while the distant hum of city traffic vibrated the floorboards. "You're my legacy," he'd say, voice gravelly from boardroom battles, clinking his tumbler against mine filled with fizzy cola that fizzed on my tongue. Our bond seemed unbreakable, forged in those late nights poring over contracts under the green-shaded lamp, its brass warm to the touch, ink drying with a faint chemical whiff. I idolized him, absorbed every lesson like sponge to water, believing our empire would be ours together. But one evening, as rain pattered against leaded windows, cold droplets streaking glass like tears, he pulled a dusty ledger from his desk drawer, its leather cover cracked and musty, flipping pages with fingers stained yellow from endless smokes. He glanced at me sideways, his cologne, a musky pine, suddenly overpowering, and muttered something about hidden reserves tucked away in offshore whispers, a clue I barely registered amid the thunder rumbling outside. That illusion cracked wide open the day I overheard him in his office, door ajar just enough for the chill draft from the AC vents to carry his venomous words like shards of ice straight into my chest. I had come to celebrate closing my first solo deal, arms full of takeout cartons steaming with spicy kung pao chicken, the sesame oil aroma mingling with his ever-present cigar haze. But he was on the phone, pacing on the thick wool rug that muffled his footsteps, its fibers soft under my shoes as I froze in the hallway. "That boy of mine? Useless," he snarled, voice dripping contempt, the words landing like a sledgehammer to my gut. "Can't build a sandbox, let alone an empire. I've been propping him up for years, funneling his projects through my shell companies just to keep him from embarrassing us." My heart pounded, blood roaring in my ears louder than the whir of his desk fan stirring papers. Propping me up? Every contract I'd signed, every handshake I'd sealed under fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, he'd twisted them into his web? I pushed the door open, cartons tumbling to the hardwood floor with wet thuds, sauce splattering like blood. He whirled, phone still to his ear, face paling under the harsh overhead glare. "What the hell are you doing here?" he barked, but I demanded the truth, voice shaking as cold sweat beaded on my forehead. He laughed, cruel and barking, slamming the receiver down with a crack that echoed. "Truth? You're a failure, son. Always were. I built everything you touch. Your little ventures? I bankrolled them secretly, claimed them as losses to dodge taxes, wrote them off as charity for the family idiot." His words froze my blood with one line, "I wish you'd never been born to tarnish my name." The room spun, the metallic tang of fear on my tongue, mixing with the spilled soy, betrayal sinking claws deep as he turned away, dismissing me like yesterday's news, leaving me shattered on the threshold. Shock morphed into a storm of grief that night, but escalation hit like aftershocks rippling through our world, exposing victims I'd never imagined. I stumbled to my car, rain now sheeting down, wipers slashing frantic rhythms across the windshield as tires hydroplaned on slick asphalt, hydroplaning pulling me toward the estate gates. Inside, Mom waited, her face crumpling when I confessed over cooling tea that tasted like ash, steam long gone. But Dad had poisoned more than me. He'd swindled Uncle Raj out of his life savings, forging signatures on those very shell docs to fund my flops, leaving Raj bankrupt, his small trucking firm repossessed, drivers jobless and cursing in the depot's diesel fumes. Then Aunt Lena called, voice quavering through static, revealing Dad had lured her into a family investment, siphoning her widow's nest egg for bribes to city officials, her hands trembling as she clutched eviction papers, the ink smudged from tears. Fallout spread. Our loyal foreman, Miguel, fired unjustly when Dad pinned a safety violation on him to cover embezzled materials, his calloused palms now idle, family photos gathering dust in a cramped apartment reeking of instant noodles. Media sniffed it out next, headlines blaring about the firm's shaky foundations, investors pulling out like rats from a fire, stocks plummeting amid frantic trading floor bells. Dad doubled down, calling emergency board meeting in the oak-paneled room, chairs creaking under tense bodies, sweat and cheap cologne thick, blaming me publicly. My son's incompetence dragged us here. Protests erupted outside headquarters, workers chanting with megaphones blaring, picket signs slapping in wind, their boots scuffing concrete still gritty from recent pours. Mom confronted him in the foyer, vase shattering on marble with a crystalline crash, shards glittering like broken trust, her sobs echoing off vaulted ceilings. Legal letters piled up, crisp envelopes slicing through mail slot, demanding audits, threats of jail time hanging heavy as the chandelier's crystal prisms. I watched our empire teeter, each revelation a knife twist, rage bubbling under grief, as Dad strutted oblivious, sipping scotch that glugged from crystal decanter, ice clinking smugly. Grief fueled a deeper dive, nights blurring into days as I pored over his study under cover of darkness, the brass lamp's glow pooling yellow on stacks of files smelling of mildew and secrets. I cracked his safe, combination whispered in his sleep years ago, the dial clicking smooth like fate turning, revealing ledgers bound in cracked vinyl, pages yellowed and dog-eared. There it was, the smoking gun, a DNA paternity report tucked in a manila envelope, sealed with red wax, brittle under my thumb, results screaming I wasn't his biological son, conceived during his business trip when he'd left Mom vulnerable to his partner's advances. The paper trail exploded from there. Emails printed on cheap stock, timestamps glaring, Dad admitting in black and white he'd known for decades, used it to justify sabotaging me, routing my successes through anonymous LLCs he controlled, skimming profits via wire transfers detailed in spreadsheets, columns neat as lies. Bank statements followed, rubber-banded thick, showing diversions to his mistress's accounts, numbers funneled from my projects he'd claimed as his. Photos spilled out too, glossy prints of him laughing with my real father at construction sites, hard hats tilted, dust caking their boots, a brotherhood he'd buried to hoard the throne. Deeper still, voicemails transcribed on USB drives, his voice tinny and vicious, plotting to frame me for fraud if I ever got too close. Sensory onslaught hit, fingers blackening from old toner, eyes burning from microfilm reels whirring on his ancient reader, the machine's hum vibrating my teeth, stale coffee breath from his mug ringed on desk. I uncovered victim 3, cousin Priya, her college fund gutted for his yacht payments, her dreams of med school drowned in his greed, letters from her pleading unread in the drawer. The estate's silence amplified it all, grandfather clock ticking relentless in the hall, each second pounding my resolve harder. Rage ignited fully now, no longer blind, calculation sharpening as I pieced the empire I'd truly built, brick by hidden brick. Rage crystallized into a revenge blueprint, meticulous gears turning in my mind as I mapped it from a dingy motel room, neon sign buzzing outside like angry wasps, thin walls transmitting neighbors' muffled arguments, and the drip of faulty faucet echoing my pulse. First, I mirrored his shell game, filed paperwork under my new LLC, Phoenix Rise, notarized with steady hand on the county clerk's counter, its formica cool and sticky from spills, transferring his prime contracts I'd originated, routing them through lawyers I'd hired off Craigslist, their briefcases leather-scuffed and smelling of fast food. Logistically, I hacked his email via forgotten password from our blueprint days, childhood pet's name paired with birth month, downloading client lists, forging resignations from his board with timestamps backdated using freeware, signatures scanned crisp from his own faxes, anonymous tips to IRS and SEC packaged in unmarked envelopes posted from distant mailboxes, rain-slick metal slots swallowing them with dull thuds, enclosing those DNA docs and wires as proof of fraud. I prepped media packets too, USBs loaded with audio clips burned hot from laptop vents, mailed to cop outlets with my narrative scripted tight, the disowned son exposing the fraud king. Financial kill shot, accessed his broker account via phishing link disguised as urgent board update, voice modulated low on call to reset security, diverting portfolio to frozen escrow I'd set up, keys jangling as I pocketed the confirmation printout, paper warm from printer. Alliances formed quietly. Uncle Raj got trucking contracts rerouted my way. Aunt Lena's loan repaid from first skimmed profits. Miguel rehired with back pay check crisp in envelope sealed with wax like the DNA seal. Rehearsed my lines in motel mirror, fogged from shower steam carrying cheap soap scent, ensuring every word cut deep. Plan locked, I drove back, tires humming on highway blacktop, still radiating day's heat, engines growl matching my rising triumph. The showdown unfolded in his empire's heart, the penthouse boardroom atop his flagship tower, floor-to-ceiling windows framing city lights twinkling like fallen stars, air humming with HVAC purity, masking the faint ozone of electronics. I strode in unannounced at dawn, coffee cart gurgling below in lobby memory, carrying my laptop like a loaded gun, its aluminum chill against my palm. Board members shifted in leather chairs, squeaking soft, perfumes clashing in the recycled air as Dad lounged at head, smug in his pinstripe suit, silk tie gleaming under recessed halogens. "What are you doing here, failure?" he sneered, swirling coffee black as tar, steam curling lazy. I plugged in, screen blooming large on plasma wall, revealing the DNA report first, gasps rippling like wind through dry leaves. He laughed, leaning back, chair groaning. "Fabrications, you're out." But I clicked through, emails projected huge, his voice booming from speakers, confessing the swindles, bored faces draining pale as milk. He stood, pounding table with fist thudding wood, veins bulging blue. Lies, security. For one endless moment he thought he'd won, guards inching forward, his grin wolfish under mustache twitching, eyes gleaming victory as he jabbed intercom button buzzing sharp. But my trap snapped, doors locked remotely via app on my phone, vibrating hot in pocket, sirens wailing from building PA as IRS agents swarmed lobby cams I'd looped feeds for. Client calls flooded lines, phones shrilling cacophony, his empire crumbling live. "You built nothing," he roared, spittle flecking lips, lunging at the screen, but I sidestepped, his cologne choking now. "Wrong, Dad. I built it all. The contracts, the towers, the future, while you stole shadows." He staggered, clutching chairback slick with sweat, realization dawning cold as the glass vista beyond, city awakening indifferent. Triumph surged, electric, as badges flashed in elevators rising. Aftermath crashed swift and brutal, Dad's arrest that morning under sodium lights flickering yellow, handcuffs ratcheting cold steel bites as agents pinned him amid scattered papers fluttering like defeated flags. Financial ruin hit, Assets seized, yachts auctioned off, with gavel cracks echoing in sterile halls, mistresses fleeing in heels clicking frantic on marble lobbies. Social exile followed, old cronies ghosting, his club membership revoked with curt letter sliding under a state door, brass knocker tarnished. Legal verdicts piled, 20-year sentence in federal pen, orange jumpsuit rough against skin he'd never scrubbed, appeals drowned in bureaucracy's ink. Mom divorced him quietly, papers signed in lawyer's office smelling of lemon polish, dividing scraps fairly. Uncle Raj's firm boomed under my contracts, trucks rumbling loaded anew. Aunt Lena bought her home outright, keys jingling silver. Miguel oversaw my first solo tower pour, concrete churning viscous gray. Empire reborn as mine, boardrooms now filled with loyal faces, coffee steaming fresh, no shadows lurking. Looking back, family proved the cruelest illusion, bonds forged in blood diluted by greed's acid. Yet from those ashes, I forged unbreakable walls, boundaries etched in steel, guarding my realm with eyes forever vigilant. Now I step forward, heart steady as the skyline I command, ready to build legacies that no lie can touch.